Shabbat Shalom. I have a really simple Devar Torah today, so my point's going to be crystal clear. Last week we had Shabbat Parah, and this week we have Shabbat HaChodesh, okay? And so we have the cleansing of our ritual impurity with the hope that we're going to enter Pesach pure for the Paschal offering, and this week we have the review of the Seder and the mitzvot, and so on. And the main ideas here at Shabbat HaChodesh, where we bless the new month and we get ready to enter Nisan, is there's a lot of this sense of a renewal of the spirit and recreating a purpose for the new year. And so the rabbis match this with these haftarot from Yechezkel, where Yechezkel seems to think, and this is why we're not allowed by Jewish law to paskin Jewish law from Ezekiel, because Ezekiel's conception of Jewish law is far from mainstream. And one of the things that Yechezkel seems to see is that Pesach really is Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur combined. It is the great cleansing of the temple. We're about to enter into Vayikra, Leviticus, talk about being a holy people and recovering our holiness and bringing it out and cleansing ourselves to be able to live as a holy people. And Yechezkel seems that as starting with the month of Nisan. And doesn't seem to know so much about Yom Kippur. He seems to describe what we would think of as Yom Kippur thoughts about Pesach. And he does make a reference, of course, to Rosh Hashanah, where there's a mirror image. So here we're trying to purify, but where are we? We're on the opposite. If Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are 12 o'clock, we're at 6 o'clock. We're on the opposite side of the circle. We're halfway through the year, and so we have half of the year left to get back to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Shabbat HaChodesh serves as a reminder to recommit ourselves to living, not just for the 8 days of Pesach, but for the whole year in accordance with the calendar and its profound messages which can so impact on our personal lives and the world. So I don't know about you, but like one of the things I taught in the Intro to Judaism class recently was, yes, we're going to talk a lot about holidays, but the goal of the holidays is actually to end up feeling the in-between of the holidays. So sure, Sukkot's going to take care of itself. Pesach, there's going to be a Seder, whatever it's going to be, it's going to happen. But it's the building up to Pesach, and then the moving from Pesach to Shavuot, and then you're going to stay up all night, eat too much cheesecake, and fall asleep too early, and remember your youth when you could actually make it to dawn, and reading Yechezkel in the morning, and the vision of the Merkavah. Shavuot takes care of itself in some ways, and then you're on the journey to Tisha B'Av, and then you're on the journey from Tisha B'Av into Elul. So you have a kind of irony in Judaism, which is we talk about these fixed points, but really the spirituality is in the journey in between. So I want you to think for a moment about the spirituality of being exactly opposite of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You are halfway through the journey. It's probably the time you would least think about the themes of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but that's exactly why Yechezkel is calling you to think about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur now. So why are we finishing Shemot with the building of the Mishkan? So I'm going to match that thought with one other thought. So according to Midrash Tanchuma on this parsha, they say that the people built the Mishkan, the portable tabernacle, but it kept falling apart. So they say every week they built it, and every week it fell apart. They built it again, and it fell apart. And only at one final time, well, it had ended up being the final time, that they built it, it stayed together. And the Midrash Tanchuma makes an idea about why this happened, but the point was not, why is it that it finally stood? Is there a moral lesson in that? The truth is, the reason they give, and if you really want, I'll give it to you, it's actually not a reason you could know, and there's no big moral lesson in why. Basically, we build things over and over again, and they fall down. And you build them again, and they fall down. And one of the times, and you don't know what God is thinking, and then one of the times you build it, it stays up. And the Shekhinah rests within it. So those were the two ideas, and I put it together, and I'm seeing quizzical looks. What's the point of putting these two things together? I want you to think back at the New Year's resolutions you made at Rosh Hashanah. The things you were thinking last month of Elul, if we're at 6 o'clock now, what were you thinking back at the 12 o'clock? Where were you 6 months ago or halfway back in the calendar? Because we are now facing that in the mirror. And if you're like me, some of the resolutions I made, they kept falling apart. Every time I finally, whatever it was, I don't want to tell you my resolutions, but some of them are very, very deep and some of them are very minor. To keep things light, I'll say a minor one was to eat a salad with every meal. And the crazy thing is I enjoy salad, and I especially enjoy the salads I make. And yet I have, my salad plans have collapsed over and over and over again. Taking walks in the beautiful Ann Arbor weather and enjoying the snow, my plans have collapsed over and over again. I lived them for 3 nights, and then the Mishkan collapsed. I never seem to make it through a week. I have tried, and some of my deep ones. One of my deepest ones has been, and I've been really not succeeding, is to swear off negativity. But for me, I know what that means for me. Years ago, I sometimes have told you this before, my biggest success probably ever years ago was I swore off exaggerating after I learned that it's against Jewish law to exaggerate. It's considered a form of Lashon Hara. To change what is real, to make it different, is a form of lying. And I swore it off, and I just kept trying to correct myself week after week after week. I kept failing, but after about 6 months, I managed to actually do it, just by catching myself every time and saying, let me rephrase that. So one of my deep resolution this year was to, every time I find myself lapsing into negativity, just saying something kind of unnecessarily negative or looking at the dark, bad side of things, that I would correct myself. I will tell you that my attempts at being a positive person have collapsed weekly like the Mishkan. So I still have a lot of work to do. So this is what I'm asking you to do, and I'm asking myself. Let's gaze across the timeline as Yehezkel is saying, this is the other Rosh Hashanah. This is the mirror, the secret mirror, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, in the celestial realm, in the realm of the Spirit. So enter that. What is it that I said I wanted to do this year? Because you have half the year left to get there. You really do. And it's possible that whatever it is that you were saying you were going to do has collapsed. I'm going to stay off social media, but there you are, right? I'm not going to read all these things that work me up in Substack and X and whatever these things are, but then you do, right? What is it that you said you would stop doing? What is it said that you were going to do? And use this message, Shabbat HaChodesh. Tonight, we enter the month of Nisan. We have 14 days until the Seder. It's like the period between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's like that period of introspection and restarting. And the reason maybe you've been failing, if you're like me and what you've been trying to do, don't try to figure it out. The rabbis tell us, if you just keep trying, if you just believe that you will be a success. There's a Hasidic teaching that says, don't try to channel from the tree of knowledge, because we all know what's right and wrong. Like, I know why eating a salad's good for me. Reading another article on how salad's good for me is not going to help me eat another salad. Hasidic teaching says, don't channel from the tree of knowledge. The Mishkan will stand when you're channeling from the tree of life. Shabbat Shalom.